Hi, my name is Kinley Vigil, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about standardized tests. So to begin, I wanted to talk about best practice for standardized testing. And the example that I wanted to give is that teachers can make sure that their curriculum helps in preparing their students for state standardized testing. The example that I gave is teaching third grade algebraic thinking, and I want to do this because third grade is a grade that I am really interested in teaching. So one of the standards for third grade asks that the students be able to use multiplication and division to solve word problems, and the students need to be able to do this within the numbers 0 and 100. So how I would implement this in my classroom is after teaching multiplication to the students, I'd want to ensure that they understand by using word problems. So I'd start off with an easy word problem for them, and then as time went on and I knew that they had mastered the content, I'd have them work their way up to harder word problems, and probably use larger numbers as well. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was history. So standardized testing started in China, and what happened was men had to fill out forms testing their knowledge of philosophy and poetry. And the reason that they had to do this was regarding whether or not they were able to be qualified for a job. Um, a lot of standardized testing in Greek was given in the forms of essay, and a really large example of this was the Socratic method. And then coming a little bit closer to our time period was the Industrial Revolution. So what happened was kids would be taken out of farm life and they'd be brought into school. And a quick and easy and efficient way to test them was standardized testing. And then a theorist that really implemented standardized testing in his thoughts was Binet when he created the IQ test in 1905. And that's still being used tremendously around the world and even in schools today. So in 1914, Army mental tests were used for World War I, and what these were used for was assigning the servicemen their jobs and deciding where would be best for them based on their answers and why. And then more academic based, we have in 1926 the SAT was created, and then in 1959 the ACT was created. And so a really large portion of the SAT was added in 2005 when officials decided that writing should be added to the test. And then bringing it back home to Wyoming in 2001, state standardized testing began, and we all know it as PAWS testing. So the next thing I want to talk about is development of the PAWS test. The PAWS was created in 2005 after President Bush created the No Child Left Behind Act. This tests math, science, reading, and writing of students. And what's really important about this test is it measures the individual student's achievement. And then another timeline portion that I wanted to add was that in 2008, the science option of the test was added. The next thing that I want to talk about is how the test is implemented in Wyoming. So the test is given once a year to students, grades 3 through 8, and then again in 11th grade. An important factor of this is that schools only have a certain amount of time to administer the test. So for example, say a school has a month to get the test done. Some schools will take one whole week out of their curriculum to do it. Some schools do it between 2 based on the different content area and the grades that the students are in. But it comes down to the fact that they have a certain time and they have to get it done. And then another big part of the test is scoring. So the scoring measures how well students have mastered content and skills, and each of the content in the testing has subsets that make it up, and it measures how well students do in these subsets as well, and it also lets the students know. So the students can receive the following ratings based on the questions that they answered. So they can either be advanced, proficient, partially proficient, or novice. And in order to pass the test, the student has to achieve proficient or advanced to consider passing it. And then this test is really good in student feedback. It tells the students where their progress is, and it shows them the areas that they need to work on, especially in those different subsets. The only disadvantage I would say that this test has is that it takes a while to give the students their feedback. So say they're already in the next grade, this might be when they're getting it back. So it's kind of hard to put the feedback into use with a teacher that they're currently with. And that is all I have for you guys for standardized testing. Thanks.